In a world that is increasingly unpredictable, the concept of prepping has gained considerable traction. Prepping is essentially the practice of making preparations in advance, typically to deal with potential disasters or emergency situations. This can range from stocking up on food and water supplies, learning survival skills, to having a dedicated bug-out location. It's a lifestyle choice that prioritizes readiness and self-reliance. Living as a prepper often means embracing a mindset of preparedness. It involves considering potential threats or challenges that could disrupt our day-to-day lives and planning accordingly. This could mean preparing for natural disasters like earthquakes or hurricanes, economic downturns, or even societal breakdowns. The goal is to be ready to face these situations head-on with the necessary resources and knowledge at hand. This lifestyle encourages individuals to be proactive rather than reactive, seeking to anticipate and mitigate risks before they occur. However, it's crucial to remember that while prepping can be a practical and even life-saving practice, it also comes with its own set of legal considerations. As with any lifestyle choice, there are rules and regulations that need to be observed. The legality of certain prepping activities can sometimes be a gray area. For instance, collecting rainwater may be considered illegal in some jurisdictions, while in others it's encouraged. Similarly, stockpiling certain types of items, such as firearms or certain types of food, could potentially land you in legal trouble if not done within the confines of the law. It's also worth noting that in times of crisis, laws can change quickly, and what was once legal can suddenly become illegal. This is why it's important for preppers to stay informed about local and national laws and ensure their preparations are in compliance. With this background in mind, let's delve into the topic at hand. This video aims to shed light on some of the legal pitfalls that preppers can inadvertently fall into and how best to avoid them. Understanding these potential issues can help preppers navigate the legal landscape more effectively, ensuring their preparations do not inadvertently lead to legal complications. 7. Unregulated chemical and fuel storage. As preppers, we often find ourselves accumulating a variety of resources to ensure our survival in case of a disaster. Among these resources, chemicals and fuel are some of the most vital, yet they are also the most hazardous if not stored properly. The issue of unregulated chemical and fuel storage is a significant concern and can lead to severe consequences, including legal repercussions. Many preppers might find it surprising that the storage of certain substances, such as petroleum or hazardous chemicals, is subject to federal regulations. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, the federal underground storage tank regulations apply to systems storing either petroleum or certain hazardous substances. However, there are several types of tanks which do not have to meet these regulations, leading to potential unregulated storage situations. The improper handling and storage of these substances can result in environmental hazard. For instance, the New York Department of Environmental Conservation warns that spills resulting from improper bulk storage of petroleum, hazardous substances, or liquefied natural gas can pose significant threats to the environment. Additionally, Occupational Safety and Health Administration defines a container as any bag, barrel, bottle, box, can, cylinder, drum, reaction vessel, storage tank, or the like that contains a hazardous chemical. This broad definition further expands the scope of potential unregulated storage scenarios. It's not uncommon for preppers to store chemicals and fuels in these various container types without considering the regulations and safety precautions that should be adhered to. The dangers associated with unregulated chemical and fuel storage are not just theoretical. A report revealed that Virginia alone has an estimated 2,700 to 5,400 above-ground chemical storage tanks that are neither tracked nor closely regulated. Such unregulated storage practices can lead to disastrous outcomes, including uncontrolled releases of toxic substances into the environment. In conclusion, while storing chemicals and fuel is an integral part of prepping, it's essential to understand and comply with the regulations surrounding their storage. Ignorance or negligence in this regard can lead to environmental harm and legal consequences. As responsible preppers, we must strive to balance our survival needs with our responsibility towards the environment and society. 6. Unlawful possession of weapons. Survivalism and preparedness often involve the possession of weapons for protection and hunting. However, the unlawful possession of these weapons can quickly land preppers in legal trouble, making it a significant concern that must be addressed. This issue is further complicated by the fact that weapon laws can vary significantly by region, adding an extra layer of complexity to the matter. In the United States, for example, the Second Amendment guarantees the right to bear arms. But the interpretation and implementation of this right differ from state to state. Some states have relatively lax gun laws, while others have stringent restrictions on firearm possession, storage, and transportation. Furthermore, federal laws also come into play, creating a complex web of regulations that preppers must navigate. Internationally, the situation is even more varied. Some countries like the United Kingdom and Japan have extremely strict gun control laws. In contrast, other countries may have more lenient regulations. As a prepper, it is crucial to thoroughly understand the specific laws in your jurisdiction to avoid inadvertently breaking the law. One common mistake that preppers make concerning firearms is not properly researching the laws in their area. This can lead to unintentional violations such as possessing a firearm without the necessary permits or storing weapons improperly. And it's important to remember that ignorance of the law is not considered a valid defense in court. So it's essential to do your due diligence. Another common error is failing to keep up with changes in legislation. Gun laws are a hot topic politically, and they can change rapidly. Preppers must stay informed about any changes in their local and national laws to ensure they remain compliant. The transfer of weapons is another area where preppers often run afoul of the law. Selling or giving a firearm to another person is heavily regulated, and doing so without the proper procedures can result in severe legal penalties. It's not just the seller who can get in trouble either. The recipient can also face charges if they receive a firearm unlawfully. Lastly, preppers must be cautious about where they bring their weapons. Certain places, such as government buildings, schools, and private property, often have strict rules against firearms. Even if you have a permit for your weapon, bringing it into a restricted area can result in legal trouble. To avoid these pitfalls, preppers should take several steps. First, research your local laws thoroughly. Understand what types of weapons are allowed in your area, what permits you need to possess them, and how they must be stored and transported. Okay, if you're unsure, consider consulting with a lawyer or local law enforcement. Second, stay informed about changes in the law. This can be as simple as regularly checking your local government's website or subscribing to a legal newsletter. Third, be mindful of the transfer of weapons. If you plan to sell or give away a firearm, make sure you follow all required procedures. This might involve background checks, waiting periods, and official documentation. Finally, be aware of where you can and cannot bring your weapon. If you're ever in doubt, it's safer to leave your firearm at home. In conclusion, while weapons can be an essential part of a prepper's arsenal, they also come with significant legal responsibilities. By understanding and following the laws in your area, you can ensure that you're prepared for any situation without risking legal trouble. 5. Illegal hunting and fishing. Hunting and fishing are fundamental skills for many preppers, providing a sustainable source of food in survival situations. However, these activities are heavily regulated, and violating wildlife laws can lead to severe penalties, including fines and imprisonment. This makes illegal hunting and fishing a serious concern for preppers and one that warrants careful attention. Wildlife regulations exist for a reason. They aim to protect and conserve wildlife populations, ensuring their survival for future generations. Overhunting or overfishing can decimate wildlife populations, leading to long-term ecological harm. For instance, overfishing has led to the collapse of many fish stocks worldwide, affecting not only the fish species, but also the larger marine ecosystems. Similarly, overhunting has led to the extinction or near extinction of numerous land animals. Therefore, it's crucial for preppers to understand and respect these regulations. They serve not only to protect wildlife, but also to ensure that these resources will be available in the future when they may be needed most. Illegal hunting and fishing can take many forms. It can involve hunting or fishing out of season, exceeding bag limits, using prohibited equipment or techniques, or hunting or fishing in restricted areas. Each of these infractions can lead to significant legal trouble, including fines, loss of hunting or fishing privileges, and even jail time. One common mistake that preppers make is assuming that survival situations exempt them from wildlife regulations. While it's true that some jurisdictions have exceptions for life or death situations, these are generally narrowly defined and don't extend to general preparedness activities. In other words, prepping for a potential future disaster doesn't give you a free pass to ignore wildlife laws. Another common pitfall is neglecting to obtain the necessary permits or licenses. Hunting and fishing often require licenses, and these must be obtained before engaging in these activities. Failure to do so can result in charges of poaching, which carry severe penalties. So how can preppers avoid these legal pitfalls? The first step is to become thoroughly familiar with the wildlife laws in your area. This includes knowing when hunting and fishing seasons are, what species you're allowed to take, and what methods you can use. It also means understanding where you can hunt or fish and where these activities are prohibited. In addition to knowing the laws, preppers should also ensure they have the necessary permits or licenses. These can often be obtained from your local wildlife agency or through their website. Remember, the cost of a hunting or fishing license is a small price to pay compared to the potential fines and legal trouble you could face for poaching. Lastly, preppers should respect bag limits and other restrictions. These limits are designed to maintain healthy wildlife populations, and exceeding them can harm the ecosystem. Plus, game wardens and other law enforcement officers are skilled at detecting violations, so it's unlikely that illegal activities will go unnoticed. In conclusion, while hunting and fishing are important skills for preppers, it's equally important to follow wildlife laws. By respecting these regulations, preppers can avoid legal trouble and contribute to the conservation of our natural resources. For communication missteps. Communication is an essential aspect of our daily lives, and even more so in the world of prepping. It involves sharing information, ideas, and plans, often regarding safety measures, survival strategies, and resource sharing. However, communication missteps can easily occur, leading to misunderstandings or worse, illegal activities. This makes it a critical concern for preppers, warranting careful attention. Miscommunication can take many forms. According to Mind Tools, common communication mistakes include not editing your work, delivering bad news by email, avoiding difficult conversations, and more. In the context of prepping, these could translate into unclear instructions about survival plans, inappropriate sharing of sensitive information, or avoidance of crucial but difficult discussions about resource allocation, roles, and responsibilities. Certain forms of communication can also be misunderstood or even illegal. For example, preppers often use radios to communicate. However, using certain radio frequencies without the necessary license is illegal. Similarly, preppers might use coded language or signals to communicate discreetly, but these can be misunderstood, leading to confusion or misinterpretation. There have been instances where preppers ran afoul of the law due to such miscommunications. In one case, a prepper was fined for using a restricted radio frequency without a license. In another instance, a prepper's coded message was misunderstood by a third party, leading to unnecessary panic and a visit from law enforcement. Avoiding these communication missteps requires caution, knowledge, and practice. Preppers should ensure they fully understand the legalities surrounding their chosen methods of communication, especially when using radios or other electronic devices. Obtaining the necessary licenses and staying within legal frequencies is crucial. Additionally, clear and concise communication should be prioritized. This involves carefully crafting messages, double-checking for potential ambiguities, and confirming that the message has been correctly understood by the recipient. Preppers should also be willing to engage in difficult conversations, as avoiding these can lead to confusion and potential conflict down the line. Lastly, preppers should be aware of the potential for their communications to be intercepted or misunderstood by third parties. Using coded language or signals can help maintain privacy, but these should be clearly understood by all intended recipients to avoid misinterpretation. In conclusion, while communication is a vital part of prepping, it can also be a legal minefield. By understanding and avoiding common communication missteps, preppers can ensure their messages are clear, legal, and effectively received. 3A, improper food and supply storage. Stockpiling food and supplies is a cornerstone of prepping. By having a cache of necessities on hand, preppers can ensure they're prepared for various scenarios such as natural disasters or societal collapse. However, improper food and supply storage can lead to legal issues, making it an area of concern that requires careful attention. One might wonder why something as seemingly innocuous as storing food and supplies could result in legal trouble. The answer lies in the fact that some goods are regulated due to safety concerns or potential misuse. For instance, storing large quantities of certain chemicals, even if intended for innocent purposes like preserving food or purifying water, can be seen as suspicious and potentially illegal. Similarly, the stockpiling of certain types of food can also raise legal issues. In some regions, collecting rainwater for consumption or irrigation is heavily regulated or even outright banned. Some places also have rules about slaughtering and preserving your own meat due to public health concerns. In addition to the types of items stored, the manner of storage can also create legal problems. Improper storage can lead to pest infestations, fire hazards, or other safety issues. which can result in penalties or even eviction. Understanding local regulations about food and supply storage is therefore of great importance for preppers. These laws can vary widely from one jurisdiction to another, so it's crucial to research and comply with the specific regulations in your area. Unfortunately, many preppers learn about these laws the hard way, after they've already run afoul of them. In one case, a prepper was fined for storing large quantities of chemicals in his home without the necessary permits. In another instance, a prepper was evicted from his home due to the unsafe storage of supplies. Avoiding these legal pitfalls involves several steps. First, preppers should thoroughly research the laws in their area regarding food and supply storage. This includes understanding what items are regulated, how they must be stored, and whether any permits or licenses are required. Next, preppers should ensure that their storage methods are safe and sanitary. This not only helps avoid legal trouble, but also ensures that the stored items will be usable when needed. For instance, food should be stored in a cool, dry place to prevent spillage, and chemicals should be stored in a secure, well-ventilated area to prevent accidents. Finally, preppers should be mindful of the quantity of items they're storing. While it's understandable to want to stock up on supplies, hoarding excessive amounts can draw unwanted attention and potentially lead to legal issues. In conclusion, while food and supply storage is an essential aspect of prepping, it must be done responsibly and legally. By understanding and adhering to local regulations, preppers can avoid legal trouble and ensure they're truly prepared for whatever the future may bring. 2. Unauthorized land usage. Unauthorized land usage is a common pitfall that many preppers encounter in their quest for self-sufficiency and security. It involves activities such as building shelters or bunkers, farming, or hunting on land without the necessary permissions or in violation of local regulations. While these activities are often integral to a prepper's survival plan, they must be undertaken legally to avoid serious consequences. Zoning laws play a significant role in what activities can be carried out on a piece of land. These laws dictate how land in certain areas can be used, whether for residential, commercial, agricultural, or other purposes. They also regulate the types of structures that can be built on the land, including shelters and bunkers often favored by preppers. Building a shelter or bunker without adhering to these zoning laws can lead to hefty fines, court orders to remove the structure, and even jail time in some cases. For instance, if a prepper builds a bunker in a residentially zoned area without the necessary permits, they could face legal action from their local government. Ignoring land use regulations can also have serious consequences. For example, farming or hunting on land without the proper permissions can lead to charges of trespassing or poaching. Even on one's own property, certain activities may be restricted due to environmental regulations or homeowner association rules. Understanding the local regulations about land use is therefore crucial for preppers. This involves researching local zoning laws, obtaining necessary permits before construction, and respecting rules about land use activities. Unfortunately, there have been several instances where preppers have run afoul of these laws. In one case, a prepper was ordered to remove an underground bunker he had built on his property without the necessary permits. And in another, prepper was charged with poaching after hunting on unauthorized land. Avoiding these legal troubles involves careful planning and due diligence. Preppers should consult with local zoning boards, building inspectors, or a knowledgeable attorney to understand what is permissible on their property. They should also consider the potential impact of their activities on the environment and neighbors, as these factors can influence regulations and permissions. When it comes to construction, obtaining the necessary permits before starting work is essential. While this can be a time-consuming and sometimes frustrating process, it is a necessary step in ensuring that your shelter or bunker is legal and safe. Finally, respecting land use regulations, even during survival situations, is crucial. This means not hunting, farming, or gathering on land without permission, and adhering to any restrictions on one's own land. In conclusion, while unauthorized land usage may seem like a minor concern compared to the potential disasters preppers prepare for, it can lead to significant legal trouble. By understanding and respecting local land use regulations, preppers can ensure they're prepared for the future without running afoul of the law. One, lack of permits for modifications. Another regulatory issue that can ensnare unwary preppers is the lack of proper permits for home and property modifications. Preppers often modify their property to improve self-sufficiency and defense, such as adding solar panels or constructing a survival shelter. However, many of these alterations require permits to ensure they meet safety standards and local building codes. Carrying out modifications without the necessary permissions can result in costly legal ramifications, from fines to the required removal of unauthorized structures, and may even compromise insurance coverages. For example, installing a wood stove for off-the-grid heating might seem straightforward, but without adhering to fire safety regulations and obtaining the proper installation permits, preppers not only risk potential fire hazards, but also legal penalties. It's imperative for preppers to familiarize themselves with their local building ordinances, apply for permits where necessary, and have all installations inspected. This due diligence ensures that all modifications are legally compliant and safe, fortifying their readiness without the threat of legal repercussions.